Ginga ginga.
Hello everybody, Infinite Shinjo here, and welcome to Let's Talk Anime episode 52. So, between this episode and the next episode, I have taken care of all of the requests that I'm given. Now granted, I might get more by the time that these videos are out, but just as a fair warning, these are all of the requests that I've been given to talk about on here, but there's something that might change in the next episode, but I'll save that for next episode. So to start in episode 52, we have How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. This is going to be a very interesting episode. I think it's this one. Yeah, it's this one. So, the reason this came about was one night I came home from work and just out of random chance, I ran across the second season opening, which is honestly very, very, very catchy. And I posted it to the Discord, and I said something along the lines of, I haven't seen the show, but this song is really good. And then people proceeded to say, the show is actually good, you should give it a watch for Let's Talk Anime. So, I thought, why not? So, I could go off and explain what the show is. And really, I could explain it very simply. So, we got the blonde-haired girl, Shira, and the other girl, Rem? I think I wrote that right? Which is weird because it's an isekai, so you could easily make comparisons to Rem from here and Rem from ReZero. It's just a whole confusion. But basically, those two girls summon Demon Lord dude. And his name is Diablo, which I really like because most of the time it's just like, oh, your name is Demon Lord, because we can't come up with a creative name. So, basically, it's just these three goofballs going on adventures, not to the hilarity that Konosuba is, but it's still something along those same lines of, they're just a bunch of goofballs, but he tries to act serious because he's reincarnated, who would have thought, and his whole thing is he doesn't know how to talk to girls, much less people in real life because he's a NEET and you know all the stuff. So he tries to interact the same way he does when he plays the game, and that's just super dark and edgy because Demon Lord. My gosh, I needed to take a water break for all the stuff I talked about there. But basically, to put it simply, the two girls bring him from another world, and it's the same as his own world. So it has the usual tropes of, well, what about a cell phone? Oh, we don't know what a cell phone is. You know, the usual trope of stuff that the main dude has in his real life, but they don't have in this world. So it's just the usual stuff with isekai. So, starting with the stuff that I liked is, well, hold on, let me check. Yeah, for all three of the shows that I'm discussing here, I primarily watched the dub. For the last one, I watched a little bit of the sub, but I'll get to that later. And I really like how Shira was Sarah Winderheft. Honestly, a lot of Sarah's roles I really like. Toru from Dragon Maid. Strangely enough, Zeno from Dragon Ball Super, which is really weird. And at the same time, she has such a distinct voice that if I hear it, I get that inkling of, is that her again? So, that's just really nice to see. And I had a feeling it was. I wrote it down on my notes before I even checked, so I hope that I'm actually right. I'm 95% sure that it's right, but you know, 95 is not 100, so whatever. I talked briefly about how Diablo doesn't know how to talk to girls because he hasn't interacted with anybody. And it's just kind of funny, but kind of cringy at the same time. But it makes sense that he tries to talk to people in the same way he does as a demon lord, but most people take it as him attacking them, him being disrespectful because he's a demon lord. That's just part of his whole thing. And back to Shira for a little bit. Her little speech in episode 2 is just really nice. Granted, this show is more or less fan service, the anime, but that's just a cool little thing. And I'm still kind of wondering, this is more still on the pro side because they actually acknowledge it, but he's from his own world, but it seems like he's from a different version of the game world because they already acknowledge that there's a demon lord inside the one girl. So it's kind of like the Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire sort of thing where they acknowledge that there's a Hoenn region with Mega Evolution and a Hoenn region without Mega Evolution. So I guess there's two different worlds. He was pulled from one to the other that already has a Demon Lord. So it's just an interesting sort of twist. But I really like that Diablo actually says to actual people that he's from another world. Because most of the time with Isekai, they just say, oh, well, I'm from another world, but they won't believe me, so I'm not going to tell them anyway. So it's kind of cool that they actually acknowledge it. Granted, it probably isn't going to go anywhere, but it was still nice that he actually says it to somebody. I don't remember what their reaction is, but it must not have been that memorable. But for the cons. Oh yeah, for this, I'm pretty sure I watched episode 3 as well. To be quite honest, I can't remember. Oh no, wait, I did. Because I already mentioned I watched episode 2 with Shira's little speech. And the episode 3 was them going to that castle sort of place. That's right. Yeah. But yeah, back to the cons. This is going to be just like a broad stroke with a lot of dub anime. Now granted, I chose to watch the dub, so that's more on me. But it's just a question of why all of these anime based off of video games, or really just any anime, have to use modern slang. Like, I'm pretty sure that an anime has used noob. Bottom tier character Tomazaki. I know for a fact that they use noob. But just out of nowhere, Rem says Chestamo instead of just a moment. Now granted, I know that they have to fit it into the lip flaps, but it's just like, Chestamo? Who says that? I literally want to know who says Chestamo. I might just say it just for the memes now, but like, why? I don't get it. I don't know why they feel the need to use modern slang. It just kind of takes me out of it because it really dates it for a lot of stuff that they say. Like, noob. Now granted, that's more of a broader thing that was back when I was in high school and even now, so just imagine if an isekai would bring out a fidget spinner or something. That's really gonna date it. But I mentioned earlier with the fan service, I'm not 100% opposed to it. But I'm just wondering, is there anything to this anime besides it? Although I'm sure one of the tags does allude to it, so it isn't that surprising. But it's just, if that's the comedy that you fall back on, that kind of tells me that you really don't have a leg to stand on with it, in my opinion. And kind of tied into the last point, it is generic, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Heck, there are literally anime that I watch that make no sense whatsoever. Like, I could give an example right now, but I'm saving that for a Let's Talk Anime episode down the line, so not going to bring it up now. But overall, I'd say it's not bad, but I'm not going to continue watching it, because the next thing that I am discussing is Full Dive RPG. And I know there's like a full title, but I'm just going to call it Full Dive RPG because that's much easier to say. But yes, in case you're wondering, this is another isekai. So 2 out of the 3 things I'm discussing here are isekai. Yay! Although at the same time, it's one of those arguments that I don't really mind the isekai boom, to be fair. It's just kind of telling that there are literally anime seasons where like 5 of the top 7 anime are isekai, for example. It's just a lot, to be fair. And a lot of them are just kind of all blended into one. But that's a topic that I'm not going to touch, so let's go on to Full Dive RPG. So, I don't remember for sure. I didn't check. Actually, I think I did check, but I can't remember. Riona's VA is really good. I really like the VA. Granted, she does use slang, but you know, I mentioned earlier, it's just one of those things, and you can't avoid it. But I don't know for sure. It wasn't a voice that I recognized offhand. It might be... No, I can't remember. I'll put it on the screen so that way I won't look that stupid. But actually, now that I'm looking at my notes, I'm wondering why I put this under pros. But whatever. It's kind of weird how this is just like how life is now. Like back in the Sword Art Online days, 2011 I think, something like that. It's just like, okay, you put a headset on, you transfer to the world, that's whatever. But now it's just like, oh, you got VR, you feel whatever they feel, yada yada yada. That's kind of how it is now. There's literally VR, granted, I don't think that it deals you the same damage, that'd be kind of creepy. But that's just kind of ominous that that's how life is now. You can just put on a helmet and transfer into the game. Granted, not to the extent of most anime, but that's just kind of weird that that's what's happened. Granted, I'm not sure if that really means much from me, but whatever. Going back to the VA side of things, Alicia, the blonde girl. This is the second time I've acknowledged the blonde girl in this episode. I could have sworn that this is the same girl from Demon Lord Retray. I can't remember her name. Is it blue hair? Whatever her name is. The one that called Soap Sopple. Whatever it was. I thought for sure that that was the same VA, but I can't remember. I think one of these girls in the show is Faye Maida, but I am not sure. Again, with the same thing with Alicia, I'm going to put the VA on screen, so that way I'm not exactly wrong. But whoever it is deserves a gold star. Granted, gold stars don't mean much outside of kindergarten, but just the fact that she can do the sweet, innocent voice and then go all the way over to crazy is really cool. Oh yeah, I guess I should have explained what this is about. So, you got this main dude that I didn't bother writing down his name. I think his name is actually Hero. I think that's right, because I remember watching the episode and I'm thinking, his name's Hero. A little bit on the nose, but okay. But basically you got him. He's in the real world. He wants to buy this game. And what is it? It's something like bullies steal some of his money so I can't buy the actual game that he wants. He stumbles across this rickety old shack run by Riona. She cons him into buying the game that he doesn't actually want. It's like a dead game at this point. I think they even acknowledge it as a dead game. And they build it up as whatever choices you make, impact whatever. And he kills his childhood friend and he becomes a convict. And it's just literally just how do I explain it? You know the concept of Murphy's Law? Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. That's basically the vibe I get from this show. Because this guy just gets life dunked on him all the time. And honestly, I watched the first 3 episodes and I feel like that's all I need to watch. Because episode 3 ends with him in a torture scene. He's able to escape, he saves the game, and he says, no, you know what? I get dunked on in life, I get dunked on in the game, I'm out of here. He teleports out, episode ends, and I'm thinking, perfect way to end it. That's a great way to end it. Unfortunately, I can only imagine that somehow he's going to get conned back into going in the game. But, you know, those 3 episodes are a nice way to end it. I do like, to an extent, about how they show that his life is crap. That's being built up to him actually fighting back. Granted, I think they go a bit too far and they're trying to go the Shield Hero route of him being set up in a similar way. But it makes more sense in the Shield Hero sense because he literally got set up. With Hero, he just gets life dunked on him because he's unlucky. But I'm really wondering if there's supposed to be a big story with this. Because the first 3 episodes, all I got was, he's an unlucky person. He literally gets all the crap dealt with him and it's just bad luck. Now, they did kind of acknowledge that he's supposed to be the hero or whatever, but it just kind of comes out of nowhere. Now, granted, it makes perfect sense because isekai, hero, it makes perfect sense. But with Shield Hero, it kind of makes more sense because it's built up to everybody in the town thinking that he's literally just scum, trash, whatever you can call him. And he's just doing his best, doing his own thing, whatever. But in here, it's just like, he's unlucky. That's it. And the last pro that I have is that the ED is really catchy. I didn't think I would like it as much. I can only assume that all the girls are singing it because I can tell Alicia's VA is the one that goes into like sweet little kind voices and then goes into the super crazy route, which that's just kind of wild because I wouldn't think that that would be a song that I would actually enjoy, just like going from calm to like heavy metal. But since I talked about the ED, let me talk about the OP. But the OP is in the con section. The OP is just honestly lazily put together. I'm not gonna fault anybody that worked on this show for it, but just like most of it is just still pictures of random characters in front of a screen. If they were in motion, it would make more sense, but it just felt like they did the bare minimum in my opinion. Now granted, it's just an OP, so a lot of people probably skip over it anyway, but that's just something I noticed. And also, for an anime set around video games, that's kind of unusual that it seems like they're trying to discourage video games. Because Hero's friend is saying about like, you should ditch these video games, they're just childish, whatever. It makes me wonder who they're trying to target this show for, unless that's gonna be something that's brought up later down the line. But yeah, overall, it's not bad. It's not really good either. If I'd have to pick between both of these, since they're both isekai, it makes sense to kind of compare them in that light. If I had to pick one of these two to continue watching, I don't know. Because like, I would easily say How Not to Summon a Demon Lord because I had more fun watching it and Sarah Winderheft is in the role. But at the same time, it's 2 seasons worth. I don't know if that would kind of discourage. Honestly, I'd probably at least try episode 4 just to see how they bring him back in. But regardless, don't think I'm going to be touching either one of these two, so that doesn't really matter. But for this last one, I chose an anime that I watched recently, and that is Kemono Jihen. A little bit of backstory, I initially made a video, or tried to record a video, about top 5 recent anime that I watched from like 2016 up till now or whatever, and that was going to be my reason to discuss this. But plans fell through, that didn't really work out, so I thought I'd just discuss it here. So, Kemono Jihen. I don't know what compelled me to watch this. Honestly, it was probably just the OP. That OP is just a banger. In case you haven't seen it, I did do a fan-made opening with the Kemono Jihen opening because the person that sings the opening is also the same Japanese VA that voices Leon in Pokemon Journeys, so the comparison was very easy to make there. But basically, the show is about Kabane. He's just kind of there, and then what's his name? I'll call him Tanuki because I can't remember his actual name. Tanuki boy comes in, or Tanuki man I should actually say. He comes in saying, I'm here investigating whatever. And he says, hey Kabane, I know that your parents have gone missing. I'm here to help, whatever. Come back to my HQ. We take care of like demi-human stuff. It's a demi-human sort of anime where you got characters that are children that have powers of spiders and snow and fire. And so Kabane's there. He's got overpowered skills. He's like super strong, but he's also kind of super dense at the same time. He's honestly kind of bland, but at the same time he's a fun character, and he does kind of say stuff that the other characters don't think of a lot of times, so it's kind of cool. But then you got this other group run by this woman that's trying to take these... Oh, they're like stones or whatever. I'm doing a horrible job at explaining this. If you actually want to know what the show is about, it might be better for you to check on the Wikipedia or literally anything, because I'm not doing a good job at explaining the show. But the show itself is interesting. It's something that I didn't think that I would enjoy, honestly, because it felt kind of generic, but I really enjoy it. And I do like the emphasis on family with the main trio, because you got Kabane, whose parents have gone missing, but he's determined to find them. You got Shiki and Akira, who Shiki met his mom, reunited with his mom more or less. And Akira met his sister, Akira met his brother, like right at the end of the series, which is very cool. So the whole big thing about family is just really nice. But let me talk about the three characters. I already touched on Kabane. I think that's all I can really discuss about Kabane, because there's not really much to discuss, honestly. But Shiki is the most interesting from the three. He has a similar personality to Bakugo, like other sort of tsundere characters like Bakugo, Chaz Princeton, probably a lot of main character rival sort of things, where they're just there to cause trouble, but at the same time, he's not really antagonistic to Kabane. He's just really cool. But even though Shiki is the most interesting from the three, I think Akira is my personal favorite. You could easily just chalk it up to, oh, Akira looks like a girl, so he's automatically a girl, but like, it's funny in a way that they just have it be a throwaway joke that Kabane refers to Akira as a girl, but then Akira is, I guess for a lack of a better word, triggered because Akira is actually a boy. So in a way, it should be a joke that's funny, but in a way it is. Plus, at the same time, I think Akira delivers the most funny lines out of the trio. Of course, Kabane's jokes are more based off of dry humor, but Akira is literally just funny jokes and all the time about like posting on Instagram and Facebook. Well, who uses Facebook? All of these social medias and stuff. It's just cool to see. Plus the development with his brother, like I mentioned before. But the things that I put under cons, I just realized I made a joke there. So let me bring up the joke now. So there's a character in the show right next to Kabane. She's got the little fox hoodie on. Her name is Cone. Although I read it as cons, so the cons and cons there make more sense if you look at my notes, but it doesn't really make sense otherwise. But Con doesn't get as much development as I would have liked. And that's why, oh yeah, going back to what I said earlier, I watched this mostly dubbed, but the dub was taking a little bit longer coming out than I was watching. So I ended up watching like the second half of it subbed, which works out well because Kone's Japanese VA is Nadeshiko. And I can kind of hear it sometimes. But I'm upset that she didn't get as much development. But there's always a season 2. But if there isn't one, then that just leaves everything on a huge cliffhanger because Tanuki Man and Kabane just go off and do whatever. Kone goes with them. And if there's no season 2, then that's it. I can kind of see how people would think it's generic. So a lot of people might not watch it otherwise. Plus, with the plethora of seasonal anime, that also might be a reason. But the other thing I didn't really like is the main threat isn't really established outside of maybe less than half the runtime. I mentioned about the woman with the thing or whatever. I can't even remember her name. I'm calling her Purple Lady because she's purple on the layout. But she's there. At first I thought she was going to be an ally. Turns out she is actually sort of a big bad or whatever, so I don't know. But literally less than half the episodes, she's just not there. So that's just kind of unfortunate that the show doesn't really bring up the main threat. So I don't know. Stuff might get fixed in season 2 if there is one. kind of hope there is. But yeah, hopefully that will convince you to watch it. If not, it's not going to ruin my day. But that is going to be episode 52 of Let's Talk Anime. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. I'll see you next time. Momentai.